Hi, cities. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So, this video, I have the videos are in segment. One is talking about how people are going to be drafted for military and all that, and the second one is talking about the abolishment of slavery and the things that happened after abolishment of when slavery was abolished, and how they waited for several months for Texas to approve the Juneteenth and all that. And also, this video, she also went further to talk about sharecropping and how after slavery there was no security, which we all know people were not able to get job. There was a segregation, how the children were segregated, the mothers and the husband were all separated. That was actually after slavery, right? And then when people all of us started looking for job, and all of a sudden they did what? They enacted a law that when they see people on the road, probably for them it is loitering, because people that I mean, you all know slavery happened and people came out from the plantation. People are looking for a way to survive. People looking for jobs. So when they see you on the road, they actually take you back to where you're coming from. And also, some children were also kidnapped and the rest of it. And I remember that I was the time I was reading about which was called Vagrant's Law. You know what? Let's get into this.
When we talk about June 19th, it was a bill that originally passed on January the 31st, 1865. Then it was ratified on December the 6th of 1865. And it was the 13th Amendment that abolished slavery. Hold on one second. The official date was June the 19th, 1865. Now, you look at the dates. They had to wait several months, almost close to a year, to pretty much have to tell Texas, kid you not, that there's no more enslavement. Okay? So that's how the honor of June 19th had came about. But here's the thing. After slavery, what was the confliction and the misery that blacks were still going into? First of all, there was no jobs. There was no safety and security, which is a shelter. The men somehow ended up being segregated from the women. The children and the mothers sometimes the mothers were separated again from their children. Did you know they were kidnapping children and were trying to force the children to do slave labor because they claimed in the South that they had to compensate their last crops but here's the thing. When the slaves were abolished from slavery and they had this law, they did not receive their 40 acres and a mule. Their 40 acres and a mule was taken away from them by the help of the vice president who took the placement of Abraham Lincoln. But here it goes. They started coming out with their own laws. And this is where the Jim Crow laws came about. First, they started rallying an organization called the Ku Klux Klan. Now, the head member had started originally in Alabama, but he escalated and made the foundation to be Tennessee. This United States government gave them the charter. Then they started forming police officers, and it was not to regulate, it was to regulate us. Then they started building jails, and most of the time you saw black men in jails for crimes that they didn't do. In the Jim Crow laws, there was a Pacific segregation between the whites and the blacks. Okay? Now, when you look, blacks wasn't able enough to own a property. They wasn't able enough to own land. Even if it was handed down by the slave master or overseer, what 9/10 of the time could have been the father of that slave. But they will claim that they were not inherited to that because that was not the biological next of kin. So your father could turn around and rape your mom. You could have a child, and let's say you're born on that plantation and you're born as a slave. But at the end of the day, you turn around, you can't claim anything. That's how it was. I believe in those times from between slavery and after slavery, then they came with sharecropping. Sharecropping to me was like slavery because If you work the type of work that you work, if you didn't work, then you get kicked out from the plantation. If when it's time for them to pay you, you pretty much, the tools and everything that you use, you have to end up using that, you pay off the consignment of that, which made no sense. So you left you through nothing. And if they tell you there was no compensation for sick time, holiday time, or none of that, you had to go out there and work. But guess what? This good old fashioned America, they turned around and compensated the plantation owners and claimed it was through their insurance. And every time they had lost a slave, or they got compensation for the loss of their slave. But the slaves did not receive any money, no assessments, no land, nothing of that sort. It's pretty much how it is now. Because if you look at the society we live in, there's no protection. They took away affirmative action. They're probably going to start taking the women's rights away. Okay? Then, moreover, they even trying to take away our education by saying that organizations cannot do fundings for us because of our skin color, because they have to do something called the diversity of everybody. Meanwhile, the other diversity of everybody pretty much have their own organization, their own distribution, and they pretty much can support their own people, but we can't support our own. And they put a wedge between our society. So I say to ourselves, like, was it the best thing for us to be slaves or not being slaves? I mean, I know that question is a rhetorical question. Nobody should be a slave. But when you look in institutions that you're looking at, do you see any of our people getting promotion? And when we did get promotion, this is before the affirmative action, we was able enough to escalate and do better. Now, because they took those things away from us, now we went back to square one again. And people don't realize what's going on. All our leaders who basically was teaching us and giving us the prophecy, which we cared not to listen to, they died. They assassinate our leaders. They assassinate our prophets, whether it was singing, poetry, flowetry, whether it was an educator, whether it was a doctor or lawyer. But meanwhile, their people are still, they still have the white supremacy. They have multiple white supremacies in all different type of diaspora. And you don't see them getting assassinated. You don't see them going to jail. You don't see them, they could do whatever they want. They own businesses, corporations, and everything. And nobody touches their money. Okay? But with us, they watch every nook and cranny what we do. We didn't get a hate crime. Look how many times we turn around. We keep on seeing on newspapers of young black men being unalived by police officers or the hands of someone that's racist. But meanwhile, listen to this. We don't get a hate crime bill. Okay? And we're the number one is being targeted in this country. Look, from the time when the young boy went to Buffalo, New York, and started shooting those innocent black people, there should have been a hate crime ban. The time when that young man rang the doorbell accidentally and went to the wrong house and got shot, there should have been a hate crime. The time when that young man got hanged after he was trying to stroll and go for a jog, and these three men took it upon themselves to hang him to death, there should have been a hate crime. There should have been a hate crime when we saw the police officer putting the knee down on a guy's neck and the guy saying, "I can't breathe," and he died. This should have been a hate crime. This should have been a hate crime when a gentleman was coming from a strip club, from his bachelor party, and he got shot nearly 18 random bullets. And they reloaded the bullets again by 3 cops that claimed that they were undercover, but they were under the influence of alcohol. This should have been a hate crime when a young man was strolling in the neighborhood and he was getting a Starburst and he had a hoodie over his head. This should have been a hate crime. There should have been multiple hate crimes there should have been a hate crime when a young lady was in the bedroom with her husband or her boyfriend and they came in there and started shooting down the place. Come to find out, they wanted to get the people them out of there because they wanted to gentrify the neighborhood. There should have been a hate crime when the young man was sleeping in his bed and these cops came out of nowhere and started shooting him for no reason at all. There should have been a hate crime when the guy was in his car trying to load packages and these 2 men started shooting up and shoot up. He lost his job and he also lost his status. He's probably right now unemployed. There should have been multiple hate crimes when you had a former president that basically was starting and stirring the pot about racist stuff. Now he's coming around to black people and shaking their hands and being their friends. There should have been a hate crime when that same former police president turned around and told these 6 young men that they're guilty, and all this started the execution right before he could have even went to court, and they ended up going to jail for a crime that they didn't do. There should have been multiple hate crimes when these young men, known as the Scotch Boys, went to jail because 2 women claimed that they had raped them, and come to find out they never touched them, and they tortured them to death. Only one survivor. There should have been a hate crime when those ladies came to the Supreme Court and telling the situation of what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma versus with Osage, and they got reparations, but they didn't get reparation. There should have been multiple situations that blacks went through from years to years to decades to centuries, and then they give us is this holiday. No national, and they all dancing up and down, Jubilee, what a joyful noise unto the Lord. You know what? Take it and shove it up your behind. Not to our ancestors, not to June 19th. First of all, you had no choice but to do abomination because the blacks were getting tired and they were starting to burn down the place. Okay, because they saw what was happening in the Caribbean and they wanted to be free.
Obviously, it still has to go through the Senate, but the House passed a bill, sneak past a bill where 18 to 26-year-olds will automatically be drafted. You no longer have to do it yourself. It automatically registers you for the draft. We've been known that we've been gearing up for World War III, but if you needed any more proof, I know I'm over that 26 mark, but we know in dire circumstances, they will call upon prior service members who are above that age limit. Good luck trying to get my ass. I'll take the couple of years in Leavenworth. I'm good. I ain't going back. I'll break my legs. I will jump off of something high. Good luck trying to get my ass back in there. Obviously, it still has to go through the Senate, but the House passed a bill.
I hope to God when they do this drafting, okay, because 9/10 of the time, the same way how they did it with the drafting of banning TikTok and did the votes and everything over the weekend, which probably they be doing that. You know, they do things like this to participate, to make war. I hope all their children, and I hope that is pertaining to their children and grandchildren as well too, and not just other people's children, to commoners. I hope their children are going to be drafted just as well. For example, since Biden's son is going to be serving jail time, he could be drafted to the war too, and they could put him in the front line. Donald Trump and all his children, which is his male children, they could be in the front line as well too. Since Nikki Haley loves war so much, she could put her nieces and nephew in the war too. Okay? Since Hillary Clinton, since she wants to support the other team, I hope that her grandchildren could go there as well too when they reach that certain age, or some other children that's around teenage and 18 and 20 something to go in there too. And I hope each and every one of those Congress people participate and tell their children that they have to go to the war. They got to do it for the greater good for this country, to make it great. You know, be like Uncle Sam. We need you, okay, to be a part of American. So we need you. So I hope to God that not every single person that is a high elite and has money, that their children, when they reach a certain age of 18 to 26, instead of going to college, let them go and be drafted. Okay? Because this law applies for every fellow American. And even the ones who are in hiding because of their country or this or whatever, and I'm talking about higher elite status, they need to go to the front line too. All right. This is not only applied to tax-paying fellow Americans, it also applies to the higher elites too. So every man, woman, and children that's 18 or 26 years old, that's from the higher elites, from the middle to the upper class, from the Hollywood, from the entertainment, from the politicians, I hope their men, their sons and daughters go drafted too. And there's no exemption when it comes to religion. Not one particular religion decides to say, oh, we're going to be excluded. No, no, no. Since they're the large population, let them be there too. Let them put them in the front line since they want to be fighting all every 5 minutes for no reason whatsoever. Because this cause is not for us. Okay? This cause is not for us.
So this is all I got from this, and a very big shout out to her because, like, some of the things she explained out, like, she did a great job. And the truth is that, let me start with hate crime bill. The truth is that if they had wanted to pass this hate crime bill, this is something we actually or probably do not need to talk about a lot. It's something that has happened so much to Black people, and it is still happening. Like, a Black person, you can't fish in a certain community while Black. You can't walk in some neighborhood while Black, even when you live there. They still look for a way to ask you questions. What are you doing here? I mean, meaning that there is a limit to where you are supposed to be, and there is limit to where you are not supposed to be. Because for somebody to turn police you or seeing somebody around and they want to know if you live here or if you have, like, the first of all have to assess to know if you are capable of living around there or something like that. Go to campuses. Black students cannot do some certain things. Some places of work, you can't do so many things being Black. Police brutality is all there. So this bill is something, if it's something they had wanted to pass for us, this is something they would have done. Crown Act and the rest of it, redlining, if they had passed this bill a long time ago. But the truth is that they do not have our own interest at heart, because when you have people's interest at heart, you try as much as you can to protect them. Because seeing so many things surrounding a particular people, I mean, it's like someone that look like me, you are always in danger going out. You can't wear hoodie, you can't do this as a child, you can't even come out on a playground with your telephone because they think it's Pe0ple and all of that and the rest of it. So all this hate crime and all that is something like I will say it over and over. If they had wanted to do it, they would have done it for people that look like me long time ago. And to this very moment, with everything happening, just within a twinkle of an eye, that something started happening in Israel, Palestine, and all that. We have seen so many bills being passed for them because their life matters. When would their life not matter? They don't look like me, of course. We don't look the same. So they are very important. Very, very important. That's why with everything they are doing, they are so sure that that their life is like, you don't have to do anything to put them in danger. Their life is in danger, and we need to protect them because it is our duty to protect them. Look at she has even said it all. A couple come on your door, knock, and you come out as somebody that look like me to come out to know why somebody knocked on your door or who knocked on your door, and straight up, you are taking 7 bullets. Why? Why is all this? I think why is it so rampant that it keeps happening, reoccurring? Because when something happens once or twice, and you say it is not going to happen anymore. But it keeps happening. Why? Because there is nobody checkmating what is going on, what they are doing to someone that look like me, and how they are treating people that look like me. I don't know if this makes sense. But this is it. They are so quick, very quick, to pass a bill for other people, but not for me, not for you. You all already know the reason why. And for this one, they said they are, if they are drafting people out for military and all that, why is it that I see a lot of them, like she said, they should start with Haley. Haley that went to Israel to write something that she wrote. They should start with them. Let them bring it. I'm sure she's a grandmother even. Let them bring everybody out. She has other families too. Bring everybody out. Those top people, bring them all. Bring all their family out. Let them be let them be drafted. Let them be drafted. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.